Welcome to this GCSE Science tutorial video on adaptations. Organisms face challenges in their habitats every day. Diseases, food and water shortages, predators, the weather, the list of challenges an organism faces is endless. The organisms that are most likely to survive, reproduce and pass on their genes to offspring are the ones that are best adapted to their environment. Adaptations are characteristics that allow an organism to survive in its environment. There are three types of adaptation. The first are structural adaptations, and these are a feature of an organism's body that improve an organism's survival and reproductive chances in their environment. For example, an organism's external shape, colour, whether they have horns, claws, or even camouflage. The second type of adaptations are functional adaptations, and these are internal processes that improve an organism's survival and reproductive chances in their environment. For example, respiration, photosynthesis, reproduction, metabolism, and venom and toxin production. And the third type of adaptations are behavioural adaptations, and these are behaviours that help improve an organism's survival and reproductive chances in their environment. Examples include hibernation, migration, and basking to absorb energy from the sun. I will now go through some specific examples of each of these three types of adaptations, starting with structural adaptations in predators. One of the most important structural adaptations in the animal kingdom is camouflage. Camouflage is the use of skin colour and sometimes body shape to help animals blend into their environment. For predators, camouflage is useful so they can ambush prey. And for prey animals, it is very useful to avoid predators. Let's look at some structural adaptations then of predators, starting off with the Arctic fox in winter. And because it's very cold in the Arctic, it has a thick layer of fur, and that fur provides insulation. And we can notice here that the fur is white, and that white fur provides camouflage so it can blend in with the snow. We can look at another example of the same animal. So this is the Arctic fox in summer. Again, just like in winter, it's still cold in the Arctic in the summer, so the fur provides insulation. And the fur colour this time is a grey-brown colour, and this fur blends in with the grassland when the snow has melted. And our last predator example is the chameleon. The chameleon's ability to camouflage is even more impressive, changing its skin colour in multiple ways to blend into its environment. Let's now take a look at some examples of structural adaptations in prey species. First up, we have the zebra, and the zebra is hunted by lions and other big cats. To humans, the zebra stripes look very obvious. However, it is not the colour that allows it to camouflage. In fact, it is the pattern, and this is known as pattern camouflage. The wavy lines of the zebra blend in with the wavy lines of the tall grass and trees. Interestingly, the colour of the zebra stripes doesn't really matter because lions are colourblind. So if a zebra stands still amongst the trees or tall grass, a lion may not see it at all. Our next prey species is the amazing stick insect. And for this brown stick insect, colour as well as body shape play an important role in helping it camouflage. Being brown allows a stick insect to blend in with the dead leaves on the ground of the rainforest. And as for their body shape, it is just like a stick, hence their name. This makes them less visible to predators such as spiders and bats. Now for some functional adaptations, starting with the world's most venomous snake, the inland taipan of Australia. And a key functional adaptation of the inland taipan is venom production. This allows the snake to kill and/or immobilize their prey. For our next example of functional adaptations, we'll be looking at the camel. Camels live in the desert in Africa, where food and water are in short supply. Camels therefore have adaptations that allow them to deal with water shortages and food shortages. Camels can actually drink up to 45 litres in one sitting when there's a lack of water. Camels also store fat in their humps, and this means they can go without food for up to a month. This is because the fat reacts with oxygen to release energy. And lastly, we have the polar bear found in the Arctic. Polar bears have a strong sense of smell, and they could actually detect a seal trapped under nearly a metre of snow up to 1.5 kilometers away. To do this, the polar bear actually has a large sheet of tissue in its nose lined with scent-detecting nerves to respond to any stimuli. So what type of environmental factor are these adaptations a response to? Well, venom is used to kill or immobilize prey, which is a food source, so that's a biotic or living factor. As for the camel, these adaptations are in response to food and water. Water is an abiotic or non-living factor, whereas food is a biotic factor. And the polar bear's strong sense of smell is allowing it to detect prey. Prey is a food source, therefore it is a biotic factor. Here are some behavioural adaptations then. Our first animal is the wildebeest. Behavioural adaptation of wildebeest is their migration across the Serengeti plains in Africa to follow rainfall. Many birds also migrate by flying south for winter for warmer temperatures, such as swallows and the peregrine falcon. However, the record for longest migration is the Arctic tern. The Arctic tern migrates from the Arctic to Antarctica each year in search of colder climates. And last of all, we have a gorilla, specifically a male. You often see gorillas chest beating to mainly show dominance over other gorillas to maintain territory and to also attract females. Remember, all adaptations have evolved in response to an environmental factor. In the case of the wildebeest, it is rainfall, which is an abiotic factor. For the Arctic tern, it is the colder climate, which is temperature, which is an abiotic factor also. And with our gorilla chest beating to attract females, females are other gorillas. This means it is a biotic factor. We have now looked at some structural, functional and behavioural adaptations of individual organisms. However, we will now look at examples of all three types of adaptation in one organism, the emperor penguin. I will also identify the environmental factors or challenges that these adaptations are a response to. An abiotic challenge that the emperor penguin faces in its habitat is the ice and snow. A structural adaptation to deal with this challenge is the presence of strong claws to grip. And the behavioural adaptation is that the penguins will reduce their movement in winter to preserve energy. The second abiotic factor, perhaps unsurprisingly considering there's a lot of ice and snow, is the low temperatures. Structural adaptations to deal with this challenge are a large body mass, and chicks have down feathers for extra insulation. A functional adaptation is that they can store and regurgitate food for chicks in winter months. They also have small flippers to reduce heat loss. And lastly, a behavioural adaptation in response to the low temperatures is where the penguins huddle together in the winter. Their eggs rest on the feet of the parents to keep them off the snow. If the eggs were exposed to the snow, they would freeze and the chicks would die. A biotic challenge facing the emperor penguins is catching prey. A structural adaptation to help them do this is the presence of a streamlined body for fast swimming. Two functional adaptations helping emperor penguins catch fish is their ability to hold their breath underwater for over 20 minutes, and males can actually fast for 100 days while females hunt fish. The males are actually the ones left to guard the eggs. And an interesting behavioural adaptation in response to catching fish is that emperor penguins eat small fish only. Fish are cold, and eating big ones reduces their body temperature. For your exam, you also need to know about extremophiles and how they are adapted to their environment. Extremophiles are organisms adapted to living in extreme environments. They are mainly microorganisms. There are extremophiles that live in environments that have high salt concentrations, known as halophiles, high temperatures, known as thermophiles, high pressures, known as pisophiles. Extremophiles can also be found in frozen glaciers, deserts, caves, volcanoes, and even deep-sea vents as seen here. Inside these vents, water is heated by magma, and it's a very hot, high pressure and salty environment. Interestingly, some animals are extremophiles. For example, the deep-sea anglerfish. These fish live in a deep ocean ecosystem. And in the deep ocean, there is no light, it is very high pressure, and it is cold, so therefore very low temperatures. And that is the end of our video on adaptations. Thank you once again for choosing Genius Science. Remember to work hard, be kind, and we'll see you in the next video.